Hello, today we'll be watching InfoWars Millie Weaver, or else known as Millenial Millie. She is making the report warning USDA organic fraud on the rise. I think it's a very healthy video to watch.
Myself and others have been exposing what they're putting in the water, what GMO food's doing, from the real science. This is only the tip of the iceberg. This is what you're feeding your family, and this is eugenics. The globalists stated they were going to develop soft kill weapons so they can give you something that makes you sick, debilitates you, and kills you in 10, 15, 20 years, and then the doctors aren't told how to diagnose it, and they don't know what's happening.
What do you like to eat? I personally prefer to eat organic food. You know, knowing that your food isn't a genetically modified organism and doesn't have chemical pesticides sprayed on them. So therefore, I'm willing to pay a higher premium for the cost of my apples, my produce, and my meat and my dairy because I don't want to have tainted food. What if I were to tell you that USDA organic food that you're purchasing at your local grocery store could in fact not be organic? And it could actually even be sometimes worse than conventional. I can't believe I'm even saying this. How is it worse? Well, it's quite simple. This fraud epidemic within the organic farming community is threatening the credibility of the USDA organic certification. I assumed that it meant that that food was produced with a certain level of quality and cleanliness, and it was free from toxins, GMOs, and other things. But it turns out that now you have these profiteers trying to go and turn a penny by essentially selling GMO and conventionally grown pesticide-filled foods to consumers with this USDA certificate. The USDA doesn't even have the enforcement power to oversee all of these farms, especially those overseas. Now let me set this straight. Fraudulent organic certification is nothing new, but the problem is it's greatly on the rise. Now, over 40% of all organic certified food in the United States tests positive for high amounts of pesticides. That means that most of us are actually consuming pesticide-ridden food when we think we're consuming organic food. Could this epidemic be because we're seeing such a high quantity of food pouring in from foreign nations? Currently, 80% of the organic food in America comes from foreign countries. Most of these farms with fraudulent organic certifications come from countries such as Brazil, China, India, Malaysia, and South Africa. According to the Washington Post, there was a shipment of nearly 36 million pounds of soybeans that sailed from the Ukraine to Turkey to California. But get this, the soybeans started as ordinary pesticide-sprayed soybeans, and by the time they reached California, they had been certified as USDA organic by a middleman, and those middlemen profited a whopping $4 million off of that lie. And this was just one shipment of 3 containing millions of pounds of soybeans and corn that was then dumped into the American marketplace with the label USDA Certified Organic. And get this, USDA certifying companies are only required to do pesticide testing on only 5% of the farm businesses that they certify. What? Congress is now weighing legislation that would roughly double the USDA's budget to oversee USDA organic certified farms. But let's get real. When has throwing more money at a government agency actually fixed any problem? Some have said, well, try farmers markets. Problem is, fraudsters and pirates have also infiltrated the farmers markets. Now, fraudsters just go and buy wholesale from conventional farmers that spray and have genetically modified foods, and then they just go turn a profit at the farmers markets because they know that the consumer is willing to pay a higher premium on food that they think was quality grown. Don't feel bad because they duped me too. I purchased tons of USDA organic certified foods at the store, and I'm sure a good portion of those foods are organic and it is worth my buck. But yeah, I'm sure I've consumed a bunch of GMO and pesticide-ridden food that I ended up paying a premium on. It seems to me that the only real solution here is that Americans need to take back their food quality into their own hands. That's right, we can't be relying on foreign corporations to provide us the quality of food that we demand. Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be profiteers looking to defraud you. So, grow your own organic garden in your backyard. And if you don't have the wherewithal for that, work with your community. Have a neighborhood garden or a neighborhood church garden. Or you could even just search around for your local farmers or co-ops that you can trust that tell you, hey, we aren't spraying our food, come visit our farm. This is the relationship that we need to have as Americans in our communities for the health of ourselves and our children and for future generations. And if you're like me and you're going to take up this gardening challenge, then make sure you guys go to InfoWarsStore.com because we do actually sell very high quality heirloom organic seeds. And that's right, we actually research and scout out the highest quality, the best certified organic USDA heirloom seeds. And God only knows how much longer you're going to have these organic seeds out there on the market before the fraudsters start flooding it so much that you don't even know what you're going to get. So get them while you can. I know I will, guys. This is Millie Weaver signing off for InfoWars.com.
And this is something I've been thinking about myself, because here in Sweden we call it ecological food rather than organic food, but it's the same thing, just different names. But regardless, I've always been skeptic of these ecological things because I don't know whether the food is genetically modified. I don't know whether the food is grown without being sprayed. I mean, it looks just about the same as any other types of food that isn't so-called ecological. It just costs more. It just costs more. That's the only thing you can see. But hell, I'd give it more money if I knew it was 100% ecological, because I'm very opposed to genetically modified food. I'm very against spraying and, as we saw in the videos, even injecting stuff into the food. Oh, look disgusting, because it contains very bad stuff. And of course we also got chemtrails being sprayed everywhere, so we're gonna get even more poison into our food. And the thing I wonder is that if someone would be caught right-handed doing the stuff that they would label their food organic and then being caught as, you know, actually spraying stuff or having genetically modified seeds, would that be classed as terrorism with chemical weapons, or would that be treated as food poisoning, or would that be simply being treated as being a fraudulent business? Because I don't think these people will be treated as severely as I'd like them to be treated, because I think it's a huge deception that goes on here, and these people are gonna earn lots and lots and lots of extra cash for basically doing the same as anyone else, but instead of being honest about what they do, they are completely misguiding an entire audience that seeks to be healthy by not buying such produce that's not being organic food. At least the only comforting thing with this video for me is that I have a pretty good common sense, that I didn't always trust this organic food to be organic, because I always had my suspicions that people could just label it as such and just get away with it. Because we do know, for example, here in Sweden, we have an example. We have these inspections for animals, right? That certain companies have been mistreating animals. They live in very bad conditions. They need to get out more, but instead they're being bred into these large factories and barely have any room to go out. They live in their own shit and etc. etc. It's horrible how some people treat their animals, and this is all across the world for that matter, how badly people treat these animals, because I do have the philosophy that if you have an animal that you're about to slaughter and etc., at least give it some dignity and let it live while it can in a decent manner, you know, be able to go outside and stuff like that. But some people just treats the animal like piece of trash. And that, to me, even though I don't believe animals have souls or anything like that, I have respect for life. And treating animals in such a manner is, for me, an appalling crime. Of course, these inspections that takes place condemned these companies and demanded that they would reform. By going back to these companies, right, the inspection noticed, oh, it have also grown intensely worse since last they were there. Because these people that makes this genetically modified food, the people that makes these, well, crimes against animal abuse, or whatever you should call it, they're not being thoroughly expected. They don't have checkups. They don't have that sort of thing. It's like, and even if they're gonna have, then they could just, let's hide the stuff. I remember working at a company that's supposed to be environmentally friendly, right? So they were about to get certified as environmentally friendly company. And of course they will get one of these inspectors for the environment, right? And he would come in there and inspect the company and say, hey, everything looks green here. But of course, everything wasn't green. They had lots and lots of chemicals that was completely not allowed to have to the environmental certification standards. So they had to go and hide. They were just rushing out to get the chemicals, throw them back into the van and just drive them away. Hide them in the basement, whatever they could possibly do to make sure the guy wouldn't see them when he came and joined them in their office, and etc. Of course, it's probably gonna be harder with lots of animals and stuff like that, but they probably got the territory to do it. It's just a more efficient way of them to work that way, to just have them all locked up and not to do their work properly. And these people spraying the chemicals, probably far easier to grow crops that way, even though if it's poisonous, that's probably why they do it, because it's more profitable in one way or another. At the end of the day, you want efficiency and productivity. So what I'm trying to say with this video is that organic food is great. It's just that some people are gonna try and deceive you, and not necessarily every organic food you're gonna buy are gonna be organic. Like she said, like 50% of those you buy in America could in fact not be organic. And that's a huge percentage of the meals you most likely gonna eat. So it's worth to think about this, but I highly do suggest, if you know some organic product, I highly suggest you take it, because it's gonna be far more healthier for you in the long run to eat actual organic food. But throwing this awareness to you, that's sort of the main goal here, to make you aware that yes, there are people that are being fraudulent, and you should always try to keep a skeptic eye when you're in the markets. Because I know people that have been buying clocks and stuff like that, the straps for the clock wristwatch you have, and he's gonna be like, oh, it's real leather, oh, buy it, it's very cheap. And when the dude buys it, and he's gonna be like, oh, it's not leather at all. I was like, I don't think it's leather, but I bought it because he said it was leather. And I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's really not leather. He was just messing with your head. He was cheating you right then and there. If you do have the instincts that this guy is trying to cheat me on the deal here, he's not actually giving me the product I want, then you really need to just set your foot down and denounce this guy, call shenanigans, or just leave the place, because, well, this guy is just gonna try to get your money, and he doesn't care. He doesn't really care at all whether you'll be happy about the product or not, because these are people that takes the risk doing this for a living, to cheat people. And if we look at salespeople, if they're gonna sell your product that's not gonna be at all what you expected, there's gonna be some hidden cost price, or for example, if you get some cheaper electricity, they're gonna add a whole lot of other different utility costs that you have to pay, and all of a sudden that cheaper electricity is not that much cheaper at all, because you have all of these other things you have to pay. This is very standard, and what they hope for you is not to react. It's they hope that you're a nice person that's gonna be quiet, because any fraudulent people, for example, if I do a bad construction work for a guy, and I'm gonna be like, I hope he didn't notice that, I'm just gonna go away, go home, and do my next job, and hope this guy won't return to me. Because I will know that even though I did this very bad stair job, I built a stair, for example, here, I'm gonna hope that this guy won't think that I made a bad job, even though he's gonna notice it and be like, oh, this stair, it's not safe to walk on. Well, of course, I'm just gonna walk away. Hopefully not gonna continue to follow after me with this, and just gonna leave it at that, and try to find some other solution rather to go after me. And another popular thing that these fraudsters do is that they don't even reply. They don't even answer the phone once they're done with the job. Well, because then they don't have to even explain themselves, and then the person is gonna feel like, I guess I am doing something wrong, because then the person will feel like it's my fault. I'm doing the thing wrong here. But you can probably think of lots of these fraudulent examples yourself, but always beware and be skeptical about people, because whether it's a product, whether they make a job, they're gonna try to fool you in some way, and they're gonna find ways to dodge it. And even if you caught them right-handed, they have already won lots and lots of cash by cheating many, many other people already. Because that's what they do every single day of their lives, is to cheat people over and over and over again. And that is why you always have to be aware of these people, because if you don't, well, then be prepared to get cheated lots and lots of times in your lives, because believe me, there are far more fraudulent people out there than you would like to believe. But I think we're gonna end here on a high note, because I think I have made some very good points, common-sensed ones at that, about fraudsters in the market. And also you can all relate this to politicians, and naturally the combination of both, and also in your private life. I mean, there's just huge list where you can find fraudsters. Naturally, it's a very painful subject to think about, but I think it's gonna be as well a very healthy one at that in the long run, if you're gonna be able to identify those before you get cheated. But in the meanwhile, this is where I get off.
We have developed, with the top firms in the United States, powerful 50 billion live organism probiotic Flora Life that is so critical to having a healthy gut and a healthy life, and that has changed my life and so many other people's lives. The other part is a compound like MycoZX that has all these key ingredients of organic herbs and other systems that are known to break down this garbage in the body. That's why, as we go through Christmas and now into the new year, we're extending the free shipping and 50% off on all our best-selling items while supplies last. You can also get the two products together and get them at 50% off when you combo them. So popular, sold out for more than 6 months. Now back in stock for a limited time at InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.